so that you guys don't get seasick
Oh.
from the motion sickness. Don't ask me how I know that. I've never gotten seasick from watching people moving around with cameras.
I know, but some people do. It's definitely a thing.
Yes.
Well, we've got 2 more minutes before people really show up. Um,
I wanted to start, yeah, I wanted to start early because I'm using a Bluetooth headset and I can never pair that with my phone. It takes me like 4 different times to do that
I have that
successfully or
problem
not,
too.
as case may be.
Yeah, it
Looks like you
works.
got it
Yeah.
working great.
Yeah. So I got to see some Aurore's artwork Thursday evening at Lynn
Oh,
Kominsky's talk. My
cool.
God, that's awesome.
Oh, that's right. You went to her
Yeah.
talk.
Mhm.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
She
Yeah.
was pretty busy.
My God, I can't believe how much she's traveling, right? I get unhappy if my employer makes me travel more than 3 times a year. So
I know. And she's traveling like every month.
she was saying something just like more than every month. And
Yeah, that might be true.
yeah.
I think she flies back home today.
Okay. Yeah, she was in Albuquerque first day. She said that she was going back. She was flying out of Albuquerque Friday morning, but I don't know whether she
Oh,
was going somewhere else or back to.
yeah. So yeah, she must have flown back. I'm seeing her tonight, but so yeah, I guess she's back.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think you can take it away. We've got Rick, Matt, Charles, and Richard here.
Oh, okay, cool. Um, so what I already did is that I put my tripod out on my garage driveway and I leveled it because my driveway is sloped and it's and I'm just using the double level on the tripod to level it. I'm not doing anything special with that. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to mount my commercial mount and I'm to one, it's in use, and two, it no matter how much I wave it around, it's not consistent with telling me where north is. So glad you guys are wanting to join us. I've got the this is not an endorsement, but I've got a Skywatcher Star Adventurer in this case, and that's probably what I will use today of the Eclipse. And if you want me to move the camera, let me know. I'm happy to do that. It's on a tripod, and I can pick up my cell phone and move it. It's not a big deal. So
Yeah, it
what
might
I'm
be
going to
nice to have it
do
a little
is
closer.
okay,
So now that we've
all
seen
right. I'm gonna put my hand
the
in front
context.
so that you don't see motion as I move it around. Yep.
So kind.
How about that? Let me rotate this just a
Yeah,
little
that's nice.
bit.
Great.
Perfect.
And what are you putting
So
on?
what I'm doing
Charles?
now is I'm gonna put a bubble level on here to level it. The tripod's already level, but to align it, I'm going to put this little bubble level to level it. And then I'm going to point it to north using the compass that is hanging on a string. Yeah, good enough.
So
yes.
for the north, there are places in the country where the magnetic field north will be the same as the rotational north, true north. Is that true for your location?
No, I'm about 8 degrees off.
Mm-hmm.
And what I did was, if you see the compass, you see how the black lines in the center are not parallel with the red line of the compass.
Yeah.
If I put the red line on the straight line on a piece of wood, and I make sure that the needle points to the green dots, then the red line points to true north. And I did that by just using a computer to draw the line at the correct angle. Back in the last millennium, when I was taking geometry in school, I could have done that using a protractor, but I don't have my protractor anymore. You know, it's been, I don't want to tell you how many years, but it's a large number of years since I had a protractor.
Right. So I'm just going to paraphrase, I think, what you're saying, which is, you're 8 degrees off from true north from your
Yeah,
magnetic north is 8 degrees off from true north. And so you can
yeah,
use that fact by finding that 8 degrees on your compass. And so you can use the compass, and then you basically move eight degrees. You rotate 8
yep,
degrees probably.
yep.
Okay.
And so I'm going to get everybody seasick again. So prepare for some motion. So you can see that I'm almost, but not. Yeah, and so now I am pretty much pointing to true north as accurately as I can do it with my eyes. All right. So you want to be like far away from the metal.
And just so you know, your sound is
Yeah.
breaking up just a little bit, but we can see what you're doing.
Okay. Is the sound better now?
It is. It's great now.
Okay.
And
And so
actually,
it
So the
looks like
next,
you're working with your counterweight.
nope. Next step is to get the angle correct.
Ah,
So my latitude is like 35 degrees and change. And I don't know if you can see the angle on the level, but it's like 0.3 degrees right now. And so I'm going to tilt this until it reads. Boy, it's bright in the sunlight. That's a lesson learned that I will have to pay attention to on the eclipse day itself. Is okay. I'm just going to go to the other side. I can see better without the sun directly on it.
Just a suggestion, if you have a
Yes.
white piece of card or
Uh-huh.
like a little memo pad or whatever, you can reflect the sun onto the thing to see it.
Oh,
Just reflective scrims are used often in photography. But
okay.
I find like just an index card, you can
Yeah.
just reflect.
I'm gonna have to try that out. Great suggestion. Okay. And I've got 35.5 degrees, and that's close enough. So, so I'm gonna turn off my level now. So this is now at 35 degrees, and I pointed north first when it was level. And now my next step is to put my mount on and clamp it. So I'm going to go without a ball mount today, because a ball mount introduces a bit of flexing. I'm just going to use the pivot that came with the Star Adventurer, and we'll see whether I'm able to get it to point at the sun after I put the camera on and do a bunch of rotation. Okay. So now I'm grabbing my camera from my camera backpack, and I'm going to attach it to the tripod. Going to lock it down. I've done this once before when I was testing out the alignment using the compass, and we're just going to see if I can get reasonable success without a ball mount.
So it looks like that particular amount, the counterweight is kind of built into the mount itself. Is that what I'm seeing?
And it's actually, I'm not going to use a counterweight, but they have a counterweight that I can attach. My camera is light enough that I can do good tracking at night for the Milky Way without using counterweight. And so I'm not going to bother with the counterweight because the longest exposure in the sequence is 1 second. And at this point, my gun pointer, my personal, I 3D printed this guy, and if I point it at the sun, I get a little spot from the hole in the front on the graph paper in the back. And I can get that centered. I can get a really good alignment with that. And so that's what I'm going to do now. I've got it where I can put it into the hot shoe. And let me grab the camera and try to show you. Can you see the little spot on the graph paper?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna move the spot on the graph paper until it's centered, and then I'm going to turn on the mount to solar tracking. And that assumes that I have batteries in the mount, but you didn't need to know that. Yeah, I got batteries, I can see them. So at this point, it should track the sun, and if I were using the 3D printed mount, I would follow essentially the same, a very similar process, but I'd be using the ball head to do that alignment rather than the slew with the switch. And the 3D printed mount is not as stiff, and it takes me a lot more time to get it adjusted. So at this point, I'm going to put my solar filter on. I'm going to turn on the camera, and then I'm going to connect it to my computer. And it took me, what, about 15 minutes to do all the alignment?
Yep, 15 minutes.
Yep. So I don't think that with practice I'll get any faster. I might save about a minute if I use the gentleman who told me to use a white card. I'm going to try that next, but that's a great tip. Thank you.
Another
Mysterious
suggestion.
voice from the internet.
Yeah. Another suggestion.
Thank you, mysterious anonymous suggestion. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Another suggestion. When you're saying that you thought you had batteries in it, but you had to double check, it's useful, I find, to write down what assumptions you are making to double check them, because otherwise there's always something gets missed.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and yeah, you know,
So
that would be
I-
great to have for Eclipse Day.
I would add to the battery issue. I would go for a USB power bank to power the Star Adventurer and have the batteries as a backup in. As if the power drops from the USB, the mount will still go with the built-in batteries.
So
I used to do that all the time.
Yeah.
got the notebook, but I'm not taking any notes today. I hope someone will take good notes. So
and
thank you all.
One thing from my experience from setting up the Star Adventurer during daylight or in the dawn, or when preparing for imaging, it would be also an option to not use the wooden bar to add the compass on. It is sufficient to just step about a couple of feet away from the mount and use your cell phone and point to the Star Adventurer. So you just find one specific object like a tree or a traffic sign or whatever behind the Star Adventurer to use that as a reference for north. And then just go with eyeballing to set it up, as we don't need that high accuracy for astro imaging. And during the 3 hours plus minus for the solar eclipse, it is enough time to have a few tiny attachment corrections for the precise centering of the sun So I would go just 5 to 10 minutes before the totality to reset the center position, and this is more than enough for the star adventure.
Okay. All right. All good suggestions. Thank you.
Okay.
And you see, I did bring a notebook, but
Yep.
I'm talking, so I can't take notes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll get those recorded. We have them recorded, so we'll be.
Okay.
And many people have been sending me some of these suggestions, so we'll be putting out the suggestions.
Yes. One other suggestion.
Greatly appreciated. Yes.
One other suggestion.
Yes, please.
Put the solar filter on before you aim the camera towards the sun. The very first eclipse we took in Montana in 1979, a guy aimed his camera at the sun, bent down to put the solar filter on, turned around, his camera was burning because the sun had burned through the shutter and set the film on fire. So put the filter on before you aim the camera at the sun.
I
Yes.
would also like to make an important distinction between solar filter and UV filter, because I bought a UV filter.
Yes.
And at least I can protect my zoom lens from scratches now, but I will not be pointing it at the sun with that UV filter. But once I get a solar filter, yes, I will point it at the sun.
Yeah. You can take the Mylar film and wrap it around and use an elastic band to hold it in place if necessary, but just make sure the stuff is protected.
Yes.
That's one of those assumptions that you make that you might miss.
Yes. So
for last time we found that one of the easiest things to do to make a solar filter, if you don't buy one, is to use a step-up lens adapter, and then you can just use cut a piece of cardboard that's got about a 5 millimeter rim around it, which is the size of the step-up, and then you can press the solar film into it if you cut it. So we made a bunch of those for things like binoculars and camera lenses, and then it's very easy to put that on there without having to use any tape.
Yeah.
And we're expecting that for things like the flats we're using a t-shirt, we can attach it to the lens hood, because a lot of lenses have a hood that you can just kind of attach onto them, and then that'll press the soft thing like a t-shirt over it.
Yeah. So what you saw me putting on the front of the lens is something that I 3D printed so I can put on my solar filter quickly and remove it quickly. I have a solar filter where you have to turn a thumb screw like 27 turns or something like that to fasten it. And I said, ugh. And then I think someone mentioned something about a magnetic clip-in filter, and I said, what a brilliant idea, but I'm too cheap to buy a new filter since I already have one filter. So here we go. Voila. Solar filter on without any direct sunlight hitting the camera, but great suggestion. Need to put it on my checklist. Put the solar filter on before you mount the camera in the mount. So at this point, I would turn the camera on. I would go to the menu for power off, and I would say, do not power off, the power saving menu, and then I'd connect it to the computer. And my camera's already set to manual mode. Let's see, I'm gonna power on. And I'm going to go to menu function, auto power off, disabled. That's good. I may buy a shorter USB cable than this cable. This is a, I don't know how long it is, but it is a lot longer than what I need. Or I may get more Velcro straps to keep my stuff from hanging and becoming trip hazards. Let me to put it kindly. But also the idea that the cable will pull on your camera is not good, and so you really want to police up your cables.
In an electronics course, we were told minimize the spaghetti.
I'm going to move the camera a little bit. Okay. I cannot see the camera, so someone will have to tell me if you guys have a good view of
Yeah, we can see
things.
you. Yep, we can see you perfectly. And this is really helpful, actually. Right.
Okay.
I'm taking notes
So,
in our
so
checklist.
I'm going to stick my head underneath here so I can see my laptop screen. Because in broad daylight, it is really challenging.
Another
Even
suggestion.
my
One more suggestion. Get a white
yes.
garbage bag and put it over top of your black garbage bag, because otherwise over the 3.5 hours, that's going to get pretty warm.
Ah, yes. Brilliant. Thank you. And I'm going to reorient my sunshade. Okay. And the thing that I want to do is on my computer, I'm going to go to the remote shooting utility so I can get the live view on my computer. And if, oh my gosh, ha! I need to bring the cell phone camera and point it at my laptop so that you guys can see.
Yes. We'll go under
Okay.
the garbage bag with you.
Go under the garbage bag with me. This was without looking at anything, just using that 3D printed thing. Look at how close the sun is to the center of my frame.
We see it. I love it.
I mean, wow, right? I can fine tune it at this point and then focus. And so let's see, how am I going to do this? If I had my wife with me, I could ask her to help, but I don't. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the camera back, but then I will pick up the laptop with a garbage bag, and then I'm just going to tweak the fine motion Actually, I'm just gonna reach over and turn one of the buttons and see which way it goes. Wrong way.
I think that's yet another tip, is to try and team up if you can.
And you know what? I'm gonna call this close enough for government work to the center of the frame. If I go to 5x, and I can see I am out of focus at 5x. So this is a part where I really want to practice, is to be able to get good focus using the focus ring, the manual focus. The other thing I could try is I could try to do autofocus using the camera and then turn the autofocus off. Maybe that's what I'll do, is I'll turn off I'll go back to autofocus mode, and then I will try to see if I can force the camera to focus. So let me turn off the live preview. No, that's because I have the switch on the lens. I can't do that. So I need to go and push the switch to autofocus. Go back to the view shoot. And there's a focus button, but I don't know where it is because it's been a long time since I used this. Oh, here we go. I'm going to turn on the autofocus. And now I'm going to go to 5x.
What software are you using?
And then I will off. Yes, go ahead. Someone was saying something with the suggestion.
Oh, no, I was just wondering what software you're using.
Oh, this is the Canon EOS utility.
Thanks.
Okay. And so now that it is focused, I will go back from autofocus to manual focus. Okay. Hopefully it will stay in focus, and it does. Okay. And what you all just saw was me put some tape on the electronic focus ring to keep it looking for a verb here, to keep the focus from moving accidentally if I touch that focus ring accidentally.
We're still looking at you under your
let me put the let me do a couple of things. You see the white gaff tape, which I put on the focus ring. Okay. And you can see that the picture is still in focus in the camera live view. So at this point, I'm going to turn off the camera live view. I'm going to get out of the EOS utility. I am going to force the computer to really turn off the EOS utility. And then I'm going to open the automation software that I'm using, which is Eclipse Orchestrator. And Eclipse Orchestrator has loaded everything, and it's loaded the two sets of the gold sequence shots plus some extra pictures that I would like to have. And it says, 50 days away. But I can force it to go to like 15 minutes before C2, and then 2 minutes before C2 and things like that. Shall I do that?
Sure, but do you want to bring us in there with you?
Oh, yes. Sorry about that.
No, this is really helpful to go through this. I like this practice idea. We can maybe.
And if you don't mind, let me get a little bit of caffeine here, please. Okay. The hand of the camera is so that you guys don't get a lot of motion as I move around. Okay.
That's appreciated. Are you familiar with any screen
Yeah.
capture
Yes.
technology or programs? Like OBS, I think is a good one.
I am. OBS I have used, and the learning curve is not something I'm willing to deal with.
Sure.
Camtasia is great, but you have to pay for it. If you can get a free or a trial licensed Camtasia, I'm totally willing to do that. Yeah, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to simulated time, and so going to go to 17 minutes even, 1817. It's going to take one picture 23 seconds after. Okay. At 10 minutes before C2, it will take a picture. I'm going to take off my minutes to go. I'm going to take off one of my earbuds to see if I can hear the camera clicking. Yes, it clicked. And so that's great. And then I don't want you guys to have to wait another 10 minutes. So I'm going to go to like 18:26:50, I think is the time that I want to set. 18:26:50. And so it's going to do the 30-second prompt.
30 seconds to go. Filters off. Filters off.
Is that the program?
This Eclipse orchestrator.
Seconds to go.
Yeah, that's the program.
Yeah, that was the program. It tells you to do that, plays wave files at specific times.
Neat.
If you're using Solar Eclipse Maestro.
Gotcha.
Right. So all the solar eclipse software will do that for you.
Cool.
Yeah. And so you can see second going through the sequence. And by the way, on the day of the eclipse, I am not going to have my head under the garbage bag.
That's a good idea. Right. Just so for those watching this later, at this point, it is dark outside. And so there would be no need to even have, well, you would want to be looking at the corona with a naked eye viewing of the corona.
Eyes. Yep. Or your glasses, like me, who have to wear prescription glasses.
Right. Your prescription glasses so you can see it in focus. Also recommended.
Yes. And so I've got 2 sets of 56 exposures for the science team. Thank you. I think it was Kathy who made that spreadsheet. It confirmed what I had sorted out, and so it's wonderful to have someone peer review your work. So thank you, Kathy.
I know Kathy's been super helpful. I just got another super helpful email from another person who gave us another way of making the sequence that I think will help a lot of people. So we'll work on that next week.
Yep. And I'm going to do this again, by the way, but I'm going to put the lens cap on. And so this is at the request of Raphael. He would like for me to give him a bunch of dark files taken at, just one dark shot at each of the gold sequence speeds. So I'll just shoot them all for him and then send them to him after we do the after it's done. And you can see in the program, I put in 1 minute after C3, taking a picture of the horns of the sun for the data folks wanting to get the solar pole aligned. Because you saw that my camera was not at all level with the horizon. It was wherever it was.
Is that horn also the software?
I programmed it manually. With Eclipse Orchestrator, you can put in the event that you want, which is C3, and then you can say, 1 minute after C3, take a picture.
Oh.
And there will be a prompt saying at C3, put your filters back on.
Mm-hmm.
And I need to pay attention to that. I may need to connect my computer to an external set of battery-powered speakers so that I don't get too excited. I can hear. good thing for the checklist, actually. Get some battery-powered speakers that you can plug into the computer
Mm-hmm.
in the headset thing. I know I
an
could try
app.
connecting the Bluetooth, but I just have fears about technology.
The Sun Sketcher app will also be talking out loud to
Filters on.
people.
Filters on.
You guys heard that?
Mm-hmm. Filters on. Filters on. I like that it says it
Yeah,
twice.
okay. So my Bluetooth headset picked it up. I'm impressed. Yeah. And voila. So I think what I will do now, I like that I was able to focus using the camera's autofocus function, and the focus stayed on when I switched from autofocus to manual focus, and then I put some tape on the focus ring to keep it from shifting. What I will do now is I will shade the camera, put the hang on. I will shade the camera. I will put the lens cap on, put a bag over the top of it, and then I will repeat the camera shooting sequence for Raphael, who would like to have a set of dark files, so that he can look at it in software.
Neat.
That makes sense to everybody? So
It
let me
reminds me
see.
how fast the 4 minutes is going to go.
Mhm.
That felt like nothing, right?
I know.
And this is just the adrenaline of watching the computer.
Yeah, one of the things
Okay.
you will, if you've not done this before, one of the things that will happen is you'll be so awestruck when this starts to happen that if you have to do anything by hand, you will be screwed.
That's gonna be
So
me.
if you have the software ready to go and you're confident and it's going, when we did it 2017, you just completely forget that you're doing something else. But meanwhile, in the background, you're hearing click, 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 click. So you're like, oh, good. Because otherwise I wouldn't have done that.
And I think that's why I really want to buy a set of auxiliary speakers for my computer, so that the even with the volume at max, I really want to be able to hear the voice prompt saying, "Hey, stupid, put your filters back on." Well, Eclipse Orchestrator is too nice to say, "Hey, stupid," but
Well, I don't think it would
okay.
be talking to you if it said, "Hey, stupid, Keith."
Yeah. To be clear, you can record your own WAV files if you really want it to say that.
Yeah. I am going to go into the garage. You won't see me, to get a second plastic bag. I'm going to put it over the whole camera, even though it's got the lens cap. And I'm going to reshoot the whole thing with, and I'll remember to download only the ones without the picture of the sun so I can send to Raphael. and I know the plastic bags are not opaque, but they are dark enough that they will block more sun from the lens cap, and so hopefully Raphael will get real dark files as opposed to and oh, someone said, and I don't remember who, and I apologize for that, white bag on top of the dark bag. So whoever it was, thank you for that. And those not an official endorsement, but I love these little string clips.
We have a question. When did you start the Skywatcher?
Oh, I started it after I had immediately after I had gotten the sun poking through the 3D printed the 3D printed
solar aligner.
Someone help me out here. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah. The tool you're using for aligning, with the sun. So as soon as that was aligned, you push start.
Yeah, I went over to the other side of a Skywatcher and turned it on, and there's like a picture of a star, and that's for at night, a picture of the sun, and that's for solar, and then there's a picture of the moon, and then there's a few other things, and so that's what I did. And so now I've got a black bag, I've got a white bag, and I am going to go back under my garbage bag and take a bunch of pictures for Raphael. Okay.
And you could also use the Mylar on top. It's another possibility.
Yes, I do have the Mylar blanket that came with a 3D printed mount, and so yes. Okay. So now at this point, I'm going to go back and I'm going to set simulated time to I'm going to clip the garbage bag to my hat. Excuse me. There. Garbage bag. Just for C2.
30 seconds to go.
Oh, I'm upside down. Apologies, everybody. Go back right side up.
Filters off. Ten seconds to go.
Is a cell phone focusing well enough on the computer screen?
Not really.
Oh, apologies. How about that? Is that better?
No, part of it's just internet, a resolution situation issue.
Oh, okay.
But we get the sense of it, so it's still useful. Like we can see the sun and we can see the dialog box. So
Yeah.
Okay.
So what you're doing here is you're just simply forcing the camera to repeat the sequence, but
With the
this
lens
time all
cap
covered
on.
up for the darks, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And that is not the official method for the darks, this is just something that Raphael requested that I do for him.
No, it is the official. It is actually the official plan for the darks. Yeah, because and it's been in the photography guide for a little bit, but I know, we're sending out new ones. So it is because your camera's going to heat up as it's doing the sequence, maybe. Some won't, some will, but just in case yours does, like I heard yours did, that that will give us the darks for that temperature change over the sequence.
Yeah, but you're not going to have the 10 darks per shutter time that you wanted, right? Because this is just a sequence, and so for some of them, Raphael's only going to get 5 darks, and some of them he's only going to get 2. But I think he has a hypothesis that the based on the literature on darks, that he wants to do some data processing, if I understood him correctly. So, but yeah, I'll send them to him. I'll put them on the cloud for him tonight if I can figure out how to get OneDrive to share to him.
Nice, thank you.
Okay, so this is kind of like watching grass grow at this point. Thank you guys for recording. Thank you if someone is taking physical notes in addition to the recording. I will write down in my notebook the hints that I remember hearing. But I will greatly appreciate looking at the chat or the Discord afterwards to see what else everybody put in. Oh, Raphael, you're in the chat. Oh, that's wonderful. How are you?
Hello, hi. Yeah, thank you so much for doing the darks. I didn't realize you would do it live with everyone. I just replied on the chat why I asked you that for everyone to understand. So it was just saying that it is indeed, as Laura said, to evaluate if there is any impactful temperature ramp up by the fact that we're taking things in series very fast, and that can heat up the electronics, and even more so if it's during daylight with the sun heating up everything.
Yes.
So yeah, I really appreciate that. Hi.
The best science is always
It's
done
he,
live.
Raphael, not hi, but that's okay.
I'm sorry. Oh, he. Yeah, I wanted to check with you how to pronounce your name. Sorry.
No, it's fine. There is a 50% chance that someone will get it wrong, and so it's perfectly fine. No issues.
As long as we get it right eventually. I also got it wrong the first time. But
yes. Let's see. So
Filters on. Filters on.
Okay. It's finished with a sequence. It's going to take another few. It's going to take another shot in about 1 minute for the final alignment. The picture that is reported in the metadata, Raphael, that is a sensor temperature. That is not the outdoor temperature or the body of the camera temperature. The sensor is buried about 1 to 2 centimeters inside the camera itself, and the chip temperature will be significantly different than the outer body temperature. Right now, it feels like it is about 55 to 60 degree Fahrenheit outside in Albuquerque in the shade. In the sun, it feels warmer. But if I had my thermometer with me and I put it in the shade, it would tell me it's probably like 55 degrees Fahrenheit. So I am very curious to see when you get the metadata, what it will say. And I should look to see if I can download EXIF tool to see if I can get at the metadata myself. MATLAB does not show me, let me rephrase that. I have not figured out how to use MATLAB to look at the metadata in the TIFF file.
I think you can just, there's a way to open, well, I don't know if it's true for everyone, but a lot, or for every metadata, but there's a way to do like info. On my Mac, I can go to a TIFF file and go to info and I see all the metadata.
You can often see it on the camera as well.
Yeah, Windows only shows me some of the metadata, and on the camera, when I view it, it only shows me like some of it.
Yeah, so the Mac will show you way more information than the Windows computer will, which is why the tool set that you're talking about, the EXIF tools, that's
yes,
that helps the Windows computer catch up to what the Mac is already doing.
I see. Okay.
Because people use Mac for photography
versus Windows and Canon versus Nikon versus Sony competition.
Yeah, exactly.
All this.
Yes. But
the pure number of different cameras, software, all of this is going to be fascinating to see what the how well this comes out scientifically, as you have this giant sequence of images that are jumping from camera to camera and lens to lens and all of that. It's going to be fascinating to see how well it works.
Yeah.
Well, you can see our first try from 2017. So we'll do better than that this time.
2017 was phenomenal. That worked very well, given the tools and the number of people and the lack of attention beforehand. So fabulous.
Actually, I'm using some cameras not with stock lenses, but with telescopes. So I won't have the metadata in the EXIFs for the true focal length. What should I do with this data? Shall I add it manually to the upload images?
So
yeah. The short summary statement.
Canon. Yeah. I know that the Canon software, DPP, digital something, DPP, it does show the effective focal length if I am using a Canon lens attached to a Canon camera. If I'm using my cheap Samyang fisheye, it doesn't know anything. But if I'm using one of the Canon lenses, the Canon lens tells the body what the setting was for the focal length.
Yeah, the telescope certainly won't do that. So unless you have an extraordinarily fancy telescope. So I think I've read in the camera guide that if we can add that data or send it along manually is effective, right?
Yeah, we want as much information about your setup as possible.
Yeah. Okay, as I'm shooting two sets of the 350 millimeter focal length telescope camera setups, I will separate the images camera by camera and add the information manually to the upload.
Yeah, so right now we'll have some of you test out the upload process. I think we'll have that maybe ready in a week to test out. Right now the plan is you'll fill out a survey and then there'll be a user ID that gets sent to Berkeley right now where the uploads are going. And then through that, I don't know exactly. Anyways, they're using SharePoint in some way, and then you'll be uploading your flats, your darks, your bias, and your photographs. separately for each, I think for each camera. If you have it.
Bias, you say.
What's that?
Bias, you say?
Yes.
That's a new word.
I know. He sent me an email. It's in the guide now. It's very simple. I looked it up. I learned about it myself. A bias is just the shortest exposure time you can get with the same ISO and f-stop you're using. We'll have you do.
It is like a dock, but taken at as fast as you can, and it gets you at the intrinsic electronic noise as opposed to the sensor noise itself. So noise is a disturbance that you don't want to have. And to misquote my friend Lowell Howard at NIST, formerly at NIST at NAST, a sensor that doesn't have noise has not been plugged in. Okay, I was expecting to hear riotous laughter from the audience.
Yeah. You forget we're all on mute. We're all on mute. And
yes, I was laughing.
Echoing around the room, but you're absolutely right about that.
So that was my friend Lowell Howard at NIST, and when he said that, oh, that has stayed with me for the rest of my career.
There's actually a sweatshirt you can get that has various engineering terms. My favorite is a high impedance air gap, means it's not plugged in.
Yeah, high impedance air gap. Yeah. That's like a rapid unplanned disassembly.
Yes. Yeah. And they also
like
have
an
one
explosion.
They also have an unplanned thermal disassembly.
There you go.
Yeah. And you all think that us engineers are boring, right? I mean, we're a riot.
Yeah, we can be boring.
Who thinks that?
Engineers have a lot of time while they're waiting for their camera to do what it's supposed to do to think up this stuff. So
I've put in the chat a Sky and Telescope blog about the difference between dark frames and bias frames, and I really love that article because it shows the photographs.
Yeah.
Speaking of Sky and Telescope, we're in the March issue, so if you get Sky and Telescope, be sure to keep an eye out for that issue and hang on to it.
very nice.
By the way, do you remember when I turned on the Sky Watcher about an hour ago? Well, that dot is still exactly on the same spot on the solar finder.
That's good news.
Okay. And you can see that the switch is on the icon of the sun. Maybe if the smartphone is smart enough to focus on what I wanted to focus on.
Yep.
Okay. And so I'm about to turn off the camera. I'm about to put things away because I have double booked myself. I have a 1 p.m. my time meeting where I'm one of the volunteer coordinators, and it is embarrassing if you don't show up at an event that you helped organize.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much, for all this, for taking us through this, and being open to suggestions and sharing all your wisdom. And I think this is a great format. I think for our social hours, maybe we can have various people volunteer to set up their system, and we can kind of see how things are different for people. But
this was very valuable for me too. I loved getting the input and the feedback from others, and yeah, no, this is. Thank you for putting the Zoom together, Laura and Hannah, and the cast of half a dozen behind the scenes.
We are so happy to facilitate this, and so happy that you're getting ahead of the game and you're practicing now and you're inviting us to share it. So really, truly thank you. We hope to do this every week, maybe every other week at the least, depending on how crazy lives are. But, you know, if anyone else wants to take a stab at, you know, kind of co-hosting one of these things, or we'll co-host with you and you'll host, please don't be afraid to say so in the listserv or in the Discord or wherever you are.
Or even send Hannah a private email. I'm positive she will respond very quickly.
Oh yes, I am attached to my technology at the hip.
Yep. I deeply appreciate how quickly you respond to direct messages.
Aw, well, thank you for sending them. And yeah, for anybody that's here, if you have any questions about the Discord, or if you're just not sure how something works, like please, please, please always feel free to just reach out to me. And I can do what I can to walk you through it. I also really enjoy making like visual guides. So if there's something that you don't understand that you think the whole Discord would benefit from an explanation of with a visual guide accompanying it, let me know. And for some reason, I really enjoy those things.
Very good.
A visual guide to solar aligning your, or to north aligning your polar aligning, there's the words, your 3D printed mount, I think would go a long way to helping people.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
the camera guide is great, but it makes a lot of assumptions that you can read those words and know what they mean. So.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So that's kind of where I like to step in, is to try and make the language more approachable for everybody. So with that, and have you read the most recent version that we've sent out?
It's enormous. I've read some of it so far.
Yeah. If you wouldn't mind, once you get to the solar or the polar alignment part of it, letting me know if some of the language isn't a little better. With this most recent
I'll
version.
just try and do it. I'll just try and do it.
Yeah,
it works.
And we're filming. We just filmed, which means that we'll have to sit down and edit and make sure that it's very straightforward. We just filmed a putting your camera on the 3D printed mount video. So there will be like a YouTube video coming soon with step-by-step instructions for putting your camera on the mount. And that includes how important it is to put that counterweight on first.
Oh my God. Yes, absolutely.
Because that is not something we made nearly a big enough deal about before. And I realized that when we saw that there was a mount that spun when they put their camera on it and the gear snapped. Yeah. So
yeah, you have to catch it.
And
if you lift something, be very careful. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I also noticed I was outside earlier and I didn't have my camera on because I don't know where my phone was pointed, probably just up in the sky. But I had my 3D printed mount out on my tripod, and I'm solar aligning it, you know, best I could, because I joined about 10 minutes late right after the how to align part. And then but I got it to track, you know, the sun reasonably well in the live view on the camera.
Cool.
The sun moves quickly. Well, the Earth moves quickly, but
surprisingly quickly,
right? So I mean, once you pointed at it, it's not going to scream out of the view if you did it wrong. So you have a couple of minutes. But what I was noticing was, so he has a very fabulous mount. I have a similar Alt-Az mount for my telescope that's solid as a rock that I'm going to put my expensive lens on. But the 3D mount is thin, right? I don't want to say it's great.
It's a little brittle. It's a little,
but it was windy.
Plastic.
It's windy here in Chicago, surprisingly.
And the windy city.
And
surprisingly,
so I'm sitting here, and the whole apparatus is vibrating just a little bit,
geez.
and I'm like, how badly is that going to screw things up? If there's enough wind to vibrate my camera while I'm taking these shots, I'm a little paranoid that's going to just mess them all up.
Yeah. So I just want to like reinforce that we got funded to bring this experience, this like, you know, doing this photography and going out to see the eclipse, to bring this experience to the widest variety of people possible. And so part of that was making these very relatively cheap to produce. I mean, I think it came down to about $100 a mount, the cost to produce it, not including the labor.
No, it's $50 for the pieces.
Oh, I see.
So but not including labor, right?
Right. So either way,
plastic is cheap but not free.
Right, cheap but not free. So, but the point is that we wanted to get people out to see the eclipse, out to photograph the eclipse, and then, you know, in 20 years when we get another eclipse here in America or on the US, maybe we'll have an even wider, array of people wanting to come out and experience this. So we, just as much as we love working with the professionals who have so much experience doing this and have several eclipses under their belt, we're really here for the people who this is their first time too. And so I think, Zethi is one of the volunteers in our Discord who is relatively new to this, and they're younger, but that's what's exciting for me, is getting the people, and like myself, I mean, this is my first eclipse ever. It's also my first time photographing an eclipse. It's also my first time photographing anything really in a very special manner. So all kinds of learning happening, and I'm so excited, and we're going to write so many papers and, so many stories. But yes, so if you have another option that isn't our 3D printed mount for a mount, I would say use that. But I
use
hope
both if you can, just to see the difference, I think, right? Yeah.
Totally. And any feedback that we get will go into whatever we wind up doing in the future. So this is all data collection, and it's all good to know, and it's all good for learning. But yeah, the mount was never going to be like professional quality, unfortunately.
So, but nevertheless, close enough, and we can always hope that it won't be windy and no large trucks will drive by.
Absolutely.
I have a pretty lightweight camera. I mean, that was one of my purchase considerations, was a balance between weight and capability. And the lenses that I have are the less expensive of the Canon line. And I'm thinking that with my 2 pounds, approximately 1 kilo weight, the performance in a 3D printed mount is likely to be better without a counterweight. And so I'm going to do some experiments with that in the future. They won't be live, but I will experiment with that, and I'll report that for people who don't have the resources of as I do, of buying a Star Adventurer or the Celestron AVX, which will also be in my car with a refractor mounted for the optical view of the sun through the filter in a partial phase.
Nice. Be very careful with that, mounting that camera on that mount. I have a 1.5 kilo or 3 pound setup with my Nikon, and I attached it to the top of it, and just like Hannah said, the whole thing began to go. I was like, oh my god. So I put a 1.5 pound bag of sand hanging off of the bottom of the counterweight rod, and that works splendidly. But it's a precarious, balance is funny, right? Gravity is an interesting thing. So if you lift on the sand a little bit to move your whole camera, the whole thing, it's not the strength of the mount doesn't hold your camera strongly. It turns your camera nicely, but it does not hold it strongly. All the threaded rods and things are a little dicey.
I suggest not mounting it on a tripod. I suggest actually screwing the 3D printed mount to a wood board and then clamping the board to a picnic table. That is not going to move.
If you have a picnic table in your trunk, that will be phenomenal.
Picnic table.
Or if you're viewing in a place where they have picnic tables, really, right? And then I used this for my counterweight. Well, not physically this, but something like it.
A bottle like that. That's beautiful.
Because it will hold the same amount of water as almost the same amount of water as what my camera weighs.
Right.
And
but you want about half that, right? You don't want to counterweight it with the full weight because of the length.
No,
of
you want to counter it with a little bit less, and then depending on the length, the moment arm. And I can't do the math in my head, but the CG of the camera.
You can. F equals MA. Come on, it's not that hard.
So thanks, guys. This has been great. Anytime we start talking about math, that's when the English major leaves.
I was gonna say all the cameras start going off as you're watching. So
I know, I was thinking this is a great physics, a physics lesson, the balancing of the camera on the mount.
Absolutely. Gravity
know.
is an omnipresent friend and enemy at the same time.
Yeah, for all of us physics professor types. But I don't think all of you wanted to be physics people, so.
No, good point.
Thanks for stopping by, Raphael. Good to see you.
All right, guys, thank you so much for this opportunity. I appreciate it. Hopefully we can do more of these.
Thanks for joining. Hopefully you will see many more of these in the weeks leading up to the eclipse. Thank you, He, for getting us started.
Thank you guys for allowing me to make a spectacle of myself.